What if I told you that attraction isn't about looks, money, or charm, but about invisible, psychological triggers that women feel long before they ever admit it? Think about that for a moment. Most men spend their whole lives chasing the wrong things. They hit the gym, chase status, buy expensive clothes, learn cheesy pickup lines, yet deep down they still feel unseen. They still struggle to connect. They still wonder why some men effortlessly attract women, while they work twice as hard and get half the results. But here's the truth very few men ever hear. Attraction begins long before a woman notices your appearance. It begins in her mind. In subtle emotional shifts, in instincts she doesn't fully understand, in psychological vulnerabilities she rarely talks about. These are not weaknesses. They are simply parts of her emotional design, mechanisms shaped by nature, experience, and survival. And once you understand them, something incredible happens. You stop chasing. You stop overthinking. You stop doubting yourself. Because you finally see what's happening beneath the surface. What she's feeling, what she's reacting to, and why she behaves the way she does. Most men don't know this. They react only to her words. They get confused by mixed signals. They misinterpret silence as rejection and attention as love. They take everything personally and emotionally, sabotage themselves without realizing it. But the man who understands feminine psychology, he becomes calm, grounded, unshakable. He doesn't chase validation. He doesn't panic when she pulls away. He doesn't get excited when she gives attention. Instead, he observes. He understands, he adapts. Because once you learn the deeper emotional patterns behind women's behavior, attraction stops being a mystery and starts becoming predictable. And today, you're about to unlock that advantage. You're going to discover 9 feminine psychological vulnerabilities that shape how women feel, how they bond, and how they fall for a man. These are the triggers that ignite attraction, trust, and emotional pull, even when she tries to hide it. Once you understand them, you will start seeing signs you've never noticed before. Patterns will become clear. Her behavior will finally make sense. And the best part? You won't need to manipulate her. You won't need to pretend. You won't need to chase. Because understanding creates confidence, and confidence creates attraction. Let's begin. 1. Emotional stability is her first weakness. Most men think women fall for compliments, confidence, or smooth conversation, but her attraction begins long before you ever open your mouth. A woman is far more sensitive to emotional energy than men. Her subconscious is constantly reading your micro-expressions, your pauses, your tone, your breath, the tension in your shoulders, and even the rhythm of your movements. She is not listening to your words, she is feeling your state. When a man is anxious, needy, unsure, or overexcited, she feels it instantly, even if he hides it behind jokes or fake confidence. Her body picks up danger long before her mind understands it. This is why a man who is emotionally unstable never feels attractive, even if he is charming on the surface. But when you are calm, when you speak slowly, think clearly, breathe deeply, and move intentionally, her nervous system relaxes. Her guard lowers. Her feminine energy melts in the presence of masculine grounding. This is not passivity. It is silent dominance. It is the kind of presence that says, I do not break under pressure. Women find peace in that. Not because they are weak, but because emotional stability signals strength, protection, and certainty. Things her biology rewards at a primal level. A man who is centered becomes magnetic without trying. He doesn't need to impress. His calm becomes the gravity she orbits around, because in a world full of chaos, a stable man is rare and irresistibly attractive. Ooh, the attraction to the unattainable. Here's something men never learn. Women don't desire what they already completely possess. They desire what they almost have, but not fully. This is why the man who is too available, too responsive, and too eager loses her interest even if he is loyal and genuine. Her instinct needs challenge, tension, and uncertainty to stay emotionally invested. But this doesn't mean you should be distant or cold. That's just emotional immaturity disguised as strategy. The goal is not distance, the goal is selectiveness. When a man lives a life of purpose, when he chooses his time carefully, when he doesn't respond instantly to every message, when he shows interest but not obsession, she feels something powerful. Possibility, not possession. Possibility makes her think. Possession makes her bored. Mystery activates dopamine in the female brain. It creates anticipation, curiosity, and emotional excitement. Predictability, knowing exactly what you'll say, do, or feel, kills attraction faster than rejection. A selective man communicates one thing: my life is full. I choose you, but I don't need you. And that is when she becomes drawn to you, invested in you, affected by you. She wonders what you're thinking. She replays your actions. She tries to interpret your silence. She starts competing for your attention because your attention becomes a reward, not a guarantee. The unattainable man isn't unavailable. He is simply not owned, and that creates the pull that women cannot resist. 3. The silent influence of a deep voice and strong presence. One of the most underestimated triggers of feminine attraction is the subtle language of presence. Women feel it before they hear it, see it, or understand it consciously. A deep, controlled voice resonates far beyond mere words. It signals strength, stability, and confidence to her primal brain. This is biology. Research shows men with deeper voices are perceived as more dominant, capable, and charismatic. It isn't about intimidation. It's about communication on a level that transcends language. Her nervous system reads the resonance of your voice as an assurance that you are a man who can hold space, handle pressure, and protect. But voice alone isn't enough. Presence extends through your posture, movements, and the rhythm of your energy. Stand upright. Move deliberately. Hold her gaze without flinching. Speak slowly, deliberately, and with intention. Every micro-motion, every pause, every silent breath communicates a message. I am in control. I am here. I am unshaken. Women are attuned to these signals instinctively. When you are calm in your presence, they unconsciously relax. They feel your stability like a gravitational pull, drawing them closer even when your words are few. This is why men who panic, fidget, or rush, even if charming, rarely hold attraction long-term. Nervous energy, impatience, and scattered attention break the spell. The truth is, presence is silent dominance. You don't have to be loud, boastful, or dramatic. Your stillness, your groundedness, your ability to simply be, speaks louder than any line you could recite. Presence is magnetic because it creates a safe, psychological space for her to exist in. In that space, her emotions, vulnerability, and curiosity awaken naturally. A man with a strong presence and a controlled voice doesn't command attention by force. He commands it through resonance. And when she feels that resonance, her attraction becomes involuntary. She doesn't consciously decide to be drawn in. It happens biologically, irreversibly, and deeply. 4. The power of being able to walk away. One of the deepest feminine triggers is not your charm, looks, or even your emotional depth. It's your willingness to walk away. Not out of anger, not as punishment, but because your identity, your self-worth, your value, exists independently of her approval. Women don't fear a man's anger, they fear losing him. Subconsciously, her brain equates absence with danger, and your disappearance, even temporarily, activates a primal fear of loss. This fear is far more compelling than affection. It awakens desire because what she cannot guarantee becomes more valuable than what she can always count on. A man who can leave calmly with dignity signals strength that cannot be bought or coerced. His energy tells her, I belong to myself first. I am anchored to my purpose, not to your validation. And paradoxically, that very independence makes her want to be closer. The more you detach from the need for approval, the more magnetic your presence becomes. This is not manipulation. It is alignment with your own life, your own principles, and your own direction. Women respond to certainty and strength in ways that words cannot convey. Your calm withdrawal is not rejection. It is a demonstration of unshakable self-respect. Walking away also sets boundaries. It communicates that your energy, your time, and your attention are precious. It forces her to measure what she's receiving and ignites curiosity, anticipation, and subtle longing. In psychology, this is called loss aversion. The pain of losing something far outweighs the joy of gaining it. Applied to attraction, it means your absence is more persuasive than your presence could ever be if it were taken for granted. The man who can stay but is willing to leave becomes unforgettable. He is not desperate. He is not needy. He is sovereign in his emotions. And this sovereignty creates a gravitational pull that women instinctively feel. The tension between possibility and possession, curiosity and certainty. In short, attraction isn't built on chasing. It's built on being whole enough to leave and strong enough to return on your own terms. That is the rarest, most magnetic form of masculine power. 5. A man with a mission is her weakness. The most magnetic men in history, artists, philosophers, warriors, entrepreneurs, never relied on women for validation. They had something greater, a mission, a purpose that commanded their time, energy, and devotion. And this is what women are unconsciously drawn to, the irresistible pull of masculine gravity. Purpose signals direction. It tells a woman that this man's life is anchored in meaning, not fleeting emotion or approval. A man chasing his mission doesn't get lost in the chaos of emotional storms or distraction. He moves through the world with a rhythm that cannot be interrupted. That rhythm communicates stability, strength, and reliability, qualities that are wired into her biology as markers of evolutionary safety. But here's the paradox most men miss. Women do not want to be your world. They want to be invited into a world already in motion. When your life is full of vision, growth, and pursuit, she becomes invested not because she is necessary, but because she is inspired. Your presence is magnetic, because it signals that you are in service to something eternal, not something temporary. When a man prioritizes his mission over immediate desire, his actions become predictable in purpose, but unpredictable in engagement. He doesn't bend to emotional convenience. He doesn't chase approval. And he doesn't sacrifice his long-term vision for temporary connection. This creates the rarest form of attraction, the kind that respects boundaries, honors autonomy, and ignites curiosity. A woman naturally aligns herself with a man who builds, conquers, and creates. His mission becomes a reflection of her own potential. She sees a path to growth by following his lead, and because purpose is irreplaceable, she cannot simply replace him with another. A man with a mission is not just attractive, he is inevitable. 6. Controlled vulnerability creates deep connection. Vulnerability is a weapon. Wield it incorrectly and it becomes weakness. Too much exposure and you drown in your emotions. Too little and you appear distant, cold, or unreachable. The key is controlled vulnerability, the kind that draws her in, without giving her responsibility for your emotional survival. Controlled vulnerability is deliberate. It is revealing just enough of yourself so she feels the depth of your being, without feeling overwhelmed or burdened. It is choosing when to share, what to share, and how to frame it, transforming your experiences, your struggles and your pain into lessons, wisdom and growth. Every word, every glance, every pause communicates that you have faced life, endured it, and emerged stronger. Oversharing is emotional chaos disguised as connection. Seeking validation or comfort from her erodes your power, because it positions her as the caretaker of your identity. Emotional coldness, on the other hand, creates distance. She feels no challenge, no warmth, no invitation to explore your inner world. Controlled vulnerability balances intimacy and sovereignty. She sees your humanity, your struggles, your depth, and admires it because it is earned, not given freely in desperation. She feels drawn to your power, not your need. She experiences connection without obligation, desire without burden, and fascination without ownership. A man who masters controlled vulnerability becomes a psychological enigma. She is compelled to lean in, to explore, to feel. But she does not chase. She does not rescue. She respects the boundaries of your autonomy and cherishes the moments you allow her access. In essence, controlled vulnerability is power in motion. It transforms ordinary presence into magnetic depth. It creates attraction that is not superficial, fleeting, or transactional. It builds a connection that is both emotional and 7. Women are wired to test your strength. Most men mistake her subtle provocations for attacks. They misread curiosity for conflict and tests for cruelty. But in reality, women are biologically programmed to scan for a man's stability and strength. These tests are instinctual checkpoints, deeply wired into female psychology over millennia. They exist to measure whether a man can remain grounded when the world and she throws emotional challenges at him. A simple disagreement, a delay in response, or an unexpected opinion can trigger her radar. She watches your reactions closely. Do you bend? Do you chase? Do you crumble under pressure? Or do you remain unshaken, observing calmly and acting with intentionality? Her nervous system unconsciously evaluates every micro-expression, gesture, and word. Responding with emotional chaos, defensiveness, or over-explanation signals instability. It tells her that you are ruled by your circumstances, not your character. In contrast, calm authority radiates safety. When a woman perceives that your center is unmovable, her nervous system relaxes, her attraction increases, and her mind begins to admire your composure. This is not about dominance in the superficial. sense, it is about being a psychological anchor. A man who passes her test does not force control. He demonstrates emotional sovereignty. The paradox is simple. She seeks challenge to confirm safety. If she can provoke you and you remain calm, she experiences fascination. If she senses weakness, attraction evaporates. The man who masters this is magnetic because calmness is rare, and emotional authority is an unconscious signal of competence and reliability. 8. Confidence in the face of rejection. Rejection is a mirror, not a verdict. Most men respond to no with panic, persuasion, or desperation. But a grounded man sees rejection as data, not deficiency. It is proof that his value does not depend on external approval. A simple, composed response, "No problem. I wish you well," reveals abundance, not lack. It broadcasts emotional independence and inner certainty. Women are deeply attuned to how men handle rejection. Desperate attempts to win her back communicate scarcity, insecurity, and dependence, qualities that trigger subconscious aversion. In contrast, calm detachment signals unshakable self-worth. A man who can accept a no gracefully demonstrates that he is not emotionally enslaved, that he exists beyond desire and approval. This creates a powerful psychological reversal. Suddenly, he is no longer one of many. He becomes rare, the exception, someone who cannot be bought or manipulated. Rejection is no longer painful. It is a stage to display dignity. And paradoxically, this confidence often reignites her desire, because she senses a man whose energy is abundant, his presence unclaimed, and his attention earned. 9. Women obsess over men they cannot fully understand. Mystery is one of the most underestimated tools of attraction. When a woman fully decodes a man, knows his every thought, emotional pattern and reaction, desire fades. Curiosity dies and the dopamine of anticipation disappears. But when she cannot predict him, when she is compelled to wonder about his mind, his intentions, and his inner world, desire intensifies. This is not manipulation. It is self-possession. Speak less, mean more. Reveal yourself gradually in intentional doses. Let her imagination fill in the blanks. Every pause, every carefully chosen word, and every layer of your presence creates a psychological puzzle she cannot resist. Her mind becomes invested in decoding you, and her emotions follow her thoughts. Men who master this do not hide their lives. They simply do not explain themselves unnecessarily. Their rhythm, mission, and presence carry intrinsic value, independent of external interpretation. In this way, mystery becomes a natural extension of depth, autonomy, and confidence. Desire is built not on information, but on the wonder of discovery, and that is a force almost impossible to resist. 10. The power of emotional independence. Women are deeply attracted to men whose happiness does not depend on them. When a man's emotional state is autonomous, when he experiences joy, fulfillment, and peace without relying on external validation, he becomes magnetic. Most men unknowingly hand over their emotional power. They seek reassurance, attention, and approval, and their moods fluctuate based on how women respond. This scarcity is visible on a subconscious level, and it triggers instinctive disinterest. Women do not desire men who need them to feel whole. They are wired to seek men who are already complete. Emotional independence is not coldness. It is not detachment from connection or empathy. It is the ability to feel deeply while remaining anchored in yourself. A man who experiences setbacks, rejection, or distance without panic shows resilience. He maintains his identity, purpose, and energy regardless of external circumstances. This independence communicates a powerful message. I am my own reward. My life is mine and I choose to share it with you. Not because I need you, but because I want to. That subtle difference triggers attraction on a primal level. She feels drawn to a man who is free, unpossessable, and sovereign in his emotional world. Emotional independence also creates intrigue. Because you are not constantly seeking to be understood, noticed, or validated, she naturally leans in. She wants to know what fuels your energy, what keeps you centered, and why you remain unaffected by what would normally unsettle other men. Mystery, calmness, and self-sufficiency merge here to form a psychological pull that is almost impossible to resist. A man who masters emotional independence becomes a human. Paradox, approachable yet untouchable, strong yet vulnerable in the right moments, available yet entirely self-sufficient. In short, he becomes unforgettable because, in a world where most men rely on women for emotional affirmation, A man who stands on his own becomes the rarest and most compelling prize. Conclusion: the hidden science of attraction. Attraction isn't luck. It isn't charm, flashy gestures, or empty compliments. It isn't about the money you have in your bank account, the car you drive, or even the way your face is structured. True attraction is subtle, silent, and profoundly psychological. It operates beneath words, beyond appearances, and often before she consciously realizes it. It's the language of biology, nervous systems, and presence. Women respond to signals they cannot always articulate. They don't fall for the loudest man in the room, the richest, or the most conventionally handsome. They fall for the man whose energy aligns with stability, strength, and purpose. A man who has mastered himself. Rather than simply pursuing her, attention becomes magnetic in ways most men will never understand. She notices the man who stays centered in chaos, who doesn't react to every emotional storm, and whose calm presence feels like a safe harbor. She feels drawn to the man who moves with intention, who lives a life with direction and meaning, and whose world continues with or without her approval. He is the man whose silence carries weight, whose words are deliberate, and whose actions are rooted in something larger than fleeting desire. She is captivated by the man who maintains mystery, revealing himself slowly and intentionally, never fully decoded. This controlled depth stimulates her imagination and keeps desire alive. Because the unknown is irresistible, she does not crave him because he seeks her. She craves him because he exists independently of her, fully embodied in his own life and mission. She is pulled toward the man who can walk away, not as punishment, but as evidence of dignity and self-respect. She is mesmerized by the man who can love fully without losing himself, who can remain unmoved by chaos, rejection, or distraction. This is the rarest form of power, emotional sovereignty. A man who cannot be shaken becomes unforgettable because he radiates peace, and peace in a world of noise is irresistible. The truth is simple yet profound. In a chaotic, uncertain world, women are not drawn to those who give everything freely and without boundaries. They are drawn to the man who embodies inner calm, who carries gravity, and whose presence signals safety and strength. A man like this doesn't need to chase, prove, or impress. He simply is. And in being himself, fully and without compromise, he becomes the standard to which all other men are silently compared. Attraction is not a game, a trick, or a superficial performance. It is mastery over yourself, your emotions, and your life. When you cultivate this mastery, women are not merely interested, they are compelled, captivated, and endlessly fascinated. Because in a world filled with chaos and uncertainty, a man who feels like peace is not just attractive, he is unforgettable.